All right, big news today over at the Pro Football Hall of Fame with the NFL, the OHSAA, the Browns, the Bengals, and girls high school flag football. It's coming. Not sanctioned yet. It's going to happen. But the OHSAA is going to sponsor a tournament. They're going to crown a state champion coming up next spring. Let's bring in media relations guru, the man who stirs the drink with the OHSAA, Tim Stried. Always good to have Tim on the show. Hey, Tim, how you doing this afternoon?
Sammy, I'm doing great. It's great to chat with you. And, I'm not called the guru very often.
Well, you are today.
I appreciate that.
You are today. I got to be honest, Tim, last time we talked, I didn't think we were going to talk again till like the beginning of football season. But here we go. The big announcement today over at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I'm going to kind of let you take the floor here. Then I got some questions about, logistics and possible sanctioning and the long-term future and stuff like that. But what happened today, Tim? Tell us all about it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, for the second year now, Canton and the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the Village there is hosting a huge flag football tournament and event and other activities that go along with that. And today, the staff from the OHSAA was there along with reps from the Browns and the Bengals and the NFL. And we had 3 gold jackets there as well. And we announced that the OHSAA has taken our first step toward sanctioning girls flag football at the high school level. And we will conduct a state tournament next year and do some other things to help the sport grow. And, right now there are 80 high schools in Ohio that have a girls flag football team, which a lot of people don't realize the number's that high, but that number is just going to continue to grow. And we're pretty excited about that. And we just had a historic day today in Canton. Lot of people there, a lot of media coverage, and just really exciting to announce we're taking that first step with girls flag football.
So you mentioned this has kind of been in the works. You guys have been talking about it down in Columbus, and I know probably reaching out to schools and coaches and maybe even the girls in high school about getting their thoughts on it and how far you want to take this, and do you want to take the big step? When did the conversation start, and when did you all come to the agreement like, hey, let's do this, let's go?
Yeah. The conversations really first started a few years ago, honestly, which is hard to believe it's been, that long ago. But the Cleveland Browns really started the initial momentum. And it's a tribute to the Browns and their commitment to girls sports.
Mm-hmm.
The Haslams have just made a lot of sports, including girls flag football, a priority, which is just great. And that's when we first really had our first conversation. And at that time, there were only about 20 schools in Ohio that had a team. Well, that's now grown to 80. And I
Wow.
would say last year at this time, several of our staffers, including our football administrator, went up to Cleveland and watched the Northeast region tournament. And were just really impressed. So I think that's really when the conversations became really serious. So I think it was back in January when we had the first conversation with our board about girls flag football. They had probably talked informally prior to that, but since then, it's been on the front burner to determine, number one, is it going to be a fully sanctioned sport already, or is it getting there? And then the second conversation was, are we going to go ahead and take that first step with attaching our name to it, attaching our logo to it, and putting our support behind it. And so this spring then, our board said, yes, we want to move forward with this. We want to support it. We want to help it grow. And it could be a fully sanctioned sport here within a year or two. It's growing that fast.
Yeah, I think so. And for people that are just tuning in, they're going, sanction. What does that mean? Explain, Tim, what that means for the OHSAA to sanction a sport.
Sure. Our sanctioned sports, which right now we have 28 sanctioned sports. We have 14 for boys and 14 for girls. So let's just take baseball, for example. A sanctioned sport means that all the schools and coaches and student athletes abide by and follow all of our bylaws. It means they're all academically eligible. It means they have met all the residency requirements. It means that they have all passed a pre-participation physical. They've taken the OHSAA preseason meeting course. A lot of things go into being a sanctioned sport. Really the academic eligibility is the big thing that is the most significant thing that schools have to move forward with when they want to sanction the sport. There's definitely those things that go into it. But then we also have a few activities in sports that are one step below that. And right now that would be cheerleading and esports and gaming and now flag football. So, the sanctioning part is, different groups use that term differently. In fact, the NFL and its teams are fine to use that word in their terminology because they are looking at this as Ohio is working with flag football, and we certainly are. But we do have a couple more steps to go before it's fully sanctioned, like soccer, football, basketball, baseball, etc.
Gotcha. That's a great explanation. That's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. So that makes sense now. Tim Stried, Media Relations, OHSAA, joining us here on the Sam Berkman Show, AM 1310 WDPN. So when will we kind of get things started? You mentioned you're going to sponsor a state championship game. Would it be a tournament in the spring, Tim? How many schools do you think are going to participate? How many roster spots will there be? Some of the venues, the start date, the end date, all those good things.
Right. And, we're going to look at continuing to keep girls flag football as a spring sport.
Okay.
That's where it is right now. And, I guess I can lean on what happened this past spring when the Bengals sponsored a Southwest region tournament and the Browns sponsored a Northeast Ohio regional tournament, and the top 4 schools from those 2 tournaments advanced to the state tournament, and it was held there in Massillon. And Hamilton-Baden out of the Cincinnati area defeated Willoughby South for the state title.
Okay.
And I think we're going to keep a similar process. And, the big thing to say with this is that the Bengals and the Browns are heavily invested in making this a significant part of their efforts. They ran their own regional tournaments this past spring. The Browns have done it for a few years, and now the Bengals are doing it too. So, the influx of support from the NFL has just really made this expand faster than we even thought.
Tim Stried is our guest from the OHSAA. So it sounds like this thing, once we get rolling here in the year or two or whatever, it's going to be full go, and it's going to grow in popularity. I think it's going to grow in interest, and it could be a nice little source for everybody who's involved, as far as fans, players, moms and dads, OHSAA, all those kind of things. And I know that's something that you all were trying to look into every year to make things more appealing, more open, let people go out there and let's try some new stuff. And this definitely is a big part of that, isn't it?
Absolutely. You kind of hit the nail on the head there, Sam. I mean, it's something that is growing, and the number of schools has, tripled in the last year. And so it's something that you can't ignore. Not that we wanted to ignore it anyway, but when the number of schools is growing, a couple of big points. Girls flag football now has representation on the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association, and that's a big step. That happened in early 2024, and that was another significant step that they made with flag, is to get the rep on the Football Coaches Association. That's when we really took notice that they were gaining momentum. And I think the other thing we need to stress too is that we saw some schools do this even this spring, is that there were some girls that had already committed to their spring sport.
Right. I was going to ask you about that.
Lacrosse.
Okay.
Yeah. And what I saw a couple of schools do, and I think you're going to see more of this, is flag football was their secondary spring sport. They would have their first sport in the afternoon after school, and then 2 days a week they would have a flag football practice in the evening, and then they would play games on a Sunday.
Okay.
It was really some schools made it work, and that was great to see, because we don't want to hurt any of our other spring sports. But it's definitely something that the bigger schools that have a lot of student athletes are going to be able to put teams together easier than the smaller schools. Although having said that, Kirtland up in Northeast Ohio
Mm-hmm.
is one of the better teams in the state already, and that's a pretty small school. So, some schools are already advancing quicker than others, but it's definitely on the rise in terms of talent level. We saw that today with the college skills showcase and the number of teams.
Well, that's good. That was my question about, is this going to take away from some of the spring sports? But you can make it work. We've seen it work with boys sports, with guys playing baseball, but also running track and field at the same time. We've seen soccer players that will play, and then on Friday nights or Saturdays they'll suit up and there'll be a place kicker for the football team. So if you can figure out the logistics and stuff, you can definitely make it work.
Yeah, you can make it work, and I think a lot of girls will do both. But there are some girls, and from what I gather from that state tournament with Willoughby South and Hamilton Baden, that was the state championship game. There is a level of talent already that some girls are going to focus on that, just like it happens in other sports. I guess that's a good segue to say that there are already 100 colleges in our country that have a girls flag football team. That's just amazing.
Wow.
I
did not know that.
Not think that would happen, but here it is already. In fact, there were some colleges there today for the college fair. I'm trying to think of some Ohio. I saw Heidelberg there. I saw Wittenberg there. There's 2 Ohio colleges. There was an administrator there from the Mid-American Conference, of course, representing Kent State and Akron and Toledo and others. So it is really just becoming such a lightning rod for participation and growth, and of course, not only at the high school level, but the college level too.
Tim Stried is our guest from the OHSAA here on the Sam Berkwin Show, 1310 WDPN. One more, and we'll let you go, Tim. And good to have you on. And then good to have you up in Stark County again, as well. So what? Again, looking down the road with the sanctioning, hopefully will happen and everything. And will this? You said it will probably stay a spring sport, and what are some of the venues that the girls' flag football games will be played in, and how will that kind of thing go? And what would maybe be like a start date for the season, and then when would you end it as far as the championship game?
Right. Well, the one thing we've already talked a little bit about is that we would keep the season in a pretty similar footprint to where it is now, which this year the state championship was, I believe, May 15th.
Okay. So so it's over in May. All right.
Right. And that's the other good thing about that is it's before the state tournaments on our other sports.
Right.
So, for example, if there's a young lady that runs track or plays softball or lacrosse and she wants to try flag, she should have that opportunity to do that and even play in a state tournament and then move on to the tournament for her main sport or her other sport. So we want to keep it there. In terms of venues, I think we're looking at it from the standpoint of playing at high school stadiums. And,
okay.
That's what we do in the boys too. But, from what we've seen so far, high school stadiums are perfect for it. And that's what we saw this spring too. And Massillon was a great host. We should want to give a shout out to the Tigers and Massillon, Washington for hosting the first state tournament this past May.
Tim, we really appreciate you coming on here today. Congratulations on the big announcement. Always great to have you back in town. Now, try to enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll get back at it. We'll be bugging you here at the end of August. All right.
Look forward to it. You too, Sammy. Great talking to you.
You bet. Tim Stried from the OHSAA, kind enough to join us here on the Sam Berkwin Show, 1310 WDP.